for a gift for your wedding, your husband got you like Costco pajamas or something?
Yeah, a Costco pajamas.
What did he get? What did he get you for Mother's Day?
A $50 Amazon gift card.
I mean, this is just outrageous.
I mean, it's outrageous. Nothing says you're a blank slate in my mind like an Amazon gift card. Like, that's what you give a super.
You're a blank slate.
There's a moment I talk about this. I haven't talked about it on stage yet, but I'm going to. But there was definitely a moment where he was like 75, and then he was like, nah, not for her. Not for her. 50 feels right.
I'm reluctant to say how much I laughed at the special, because then people hear the other episodes of the show and be like, well, he didn't say he laughed that hard at the other special, so maybe that's a tell. But I feel like I'm able to say this because I've seen you perform at the Comedy Cellar so many times. Like, we've been back to back.
Yeah, you've been a great friend to me through the years.
Oh, no, I don't mean it to
No, you're not. That's not what you're saying. No, I'm saying that. You're always like, I feel like I'm always like seeing you and like venting about some weird neuroses, and you're very calming, and you're always like, it's okay, nobody's thinking about that. Like, you're right. You've always just been a voice of reason.
I think maybe it's possible that's your trauma is just helping me be like, I'm okay, I guess.
Yeah, I really need that energy all the time. I'm like, I need your voice in my head.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about it special. My husband's the opposite. He'll be like, solid, or like, he's always like,
solid.
He said solid. That's what he said at my Netflix special. He's like, solid. How do you feel?
Oh my God, solid.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
And
how do you feel? By the way,
comedians hate. Do never ask us how we felt.
Don't ask us how we felt.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. This is a public service announcement to if you are a friend or to any performer, do not ask the performer how they felt about it afterwards.
Yes, it makes us feel like that it was up in the air. We don't know if we did a good job or not. And how do we feel about what happened? Like it was a weird incident that we're still digesting.
Like it was a weird incident.
Yeah. How do you feel? Like, yeah, that's what people say after, like, I don't know, like you have an operation or something. Yeah, it's not good.
So how does your husband pronounce the word CASH?
Quiche.
Quiche. You say this in the special. I'm like,
it sounds like quiche.
I thought it was like a spinach quiche.
Somebody told me you have to say it twice because people don't know what you mean. So I've started to say it twice now because people are like, what the hell is that? Yeah.
Quiche.
They say quiche. And here's the weird thing. His brother has no accent whatsoever. So I'm like, why do you talk like this? Like and they pronounce it like foida, Fida, Fiyafida.
For F-I-R-E.
For firefighter.
F-I-G-H-T-E-R. Firefighter.
Firefighter.
Yes.
New York fireman. Foida.
Foida.
It sounds like a little kid trying to say what his daddy does. Like,
Foya.
my daddy's a foida.
Oh my God.
And I asked his brother, I'm like, why does he speak like this? It's like a cartoon of a New York accent. And his brother's like, the firehouse. Like, this explains everything question you have about your husband.
Yeah.
Imagine if your fucking husband not you, any female that's listening to this, went and lived in a house with 12 of guy friends for half your marriage. And he keeps going back there.
It's the fire fraternity.
Yeah. It's not good.
And he's like 40 something years old. He's not like a young man in a fraternity.
Yeah. They don't like come up with better ideas together. We'll talk about this in the special, but it's true. It's like they don't. They're not like cooking up better. No. And then they go there and they probably vent about their wife. God knows what they say. A lot of times I didn't realize this, but like I do jokes on stage or tell stories on stage, and here's what's happened. So it's now since I've started talking about being married to a firefighter, half of my crowd is firefighter families or first responder families. And they come up to me, fire spouses, wives, whatever, and they're like, oh, you know why he does that? That's the firehouse. So they've explained a lot of things to me that I go, I didn't know that was the firehouse. So they're like, oh, yeah, no, like that's worse. You know, like, I'm like, he won't sit still. They all have second jobs. My friend's like, yeah, they all do because they're traumatized and they don't want to go home. They don't want to go home to you.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing you say in the special is they don't want to go. They have second jobs, not because they need the job for financially, but they don't want to go home to their wives. And you say this like with that. It's not even really a joke. It's just a true thing.
Because I laugh so much because I kind of relate because it's like comedians. Like we get to go and we joke around with each other. Like I do also get it because we sit at a table at the cellar and we just like talk immense amounts of shit and we're just general morons with each other and it's so fun. And then we have to go home at a certain point.
Yeah.
So it's like I get why you just want to go home because that's always been me. Like at a certain point in the cellar, I'm like, I gotta go back home and be normal. Yeah.
Yeah, the cellar is a certain type of firehouse.
Yeah,
because you do have to work. You do have to get on stage, but then for the most part, you're waiting around. For the next time you get on stage.
And we're the real heroes.
Obviously, we're the real heroes. My favorite, the Comedy Cellar is my, other than home, is my favorite place to be.
I
just love being there.
I just love being there too. Like last night, it's like whatever cocktail of weird, unhealthy, dark feelings are brewing in my head during the day. I just like go there, I sit down, talk some shit, and then feel better. I do. I feel better.
Well, and I think like there's always comedians are always willing to trash anything. So if you walk in and you trash show business, if you trash your parents, if you trash your best friend, someone will yes and what you're saying.
And it's so fun because it's the only place we're allowed to be this level of heightened asshole.
Yes.
Like I walked into the cellar last night and Keith Robinson was like, he's like, I'm not going to watch Rachel's special. I'm turning off my electricity so I don't have to watch it. And I was like crying, laughing.
So I don't have to watch it.
We're all trashing each other. I'm like, Keith, you're the only person I know that got fat for their special. Who puts on weight for their special? You know, and he was like, Rachel's outfit stinks. And he was just trashing me the whole night, making fun of my horrible outfits and how I can't dress. And they were all doing different impressions of my outfits. And it was making me laugh so hard. Like they said, I dress like I shop at like Suburban Outfitters. And I was like, this is so funny.
Suburban Outfitters is so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh so much. Like, and so it's like the only place where we could do this and we're not gonna, I mean, everywhere else I go, I have to remember, you know, how I have to like talk and act, but it makes me laugh a lot, especially when they trash me. It's really funny. Keith was like, the thing about Rachel is that people don't understand is that she's dumb. She's very dumb. At a core level, she's not a smart person. And I was laughing so hard I was crying because he is kind of right. Like I get credit for being intelligent, I think, because I'm like sarcastic and Jewish, but I have like no information.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was making me cry, but it's like the only place we can, you know, do that with each other and it's okay. And it also makes you not believe your own nonsense. Like, you know, like
completely. No, it's constant poking of holes in your entire identity, which is somehow healthy.
Somehow I love it.
Yeah. It's nothing like the rest of life. Everything in life is so polite. And then when, somehow, whether it's the firehouse or the Comedy Cellar or whatever that the firehouse is to you, because I don't know if everybody has that. I mean, maybe some people have that with some kind of
people have that little
tennis.
Circle where they feel they're most themselves. Yeah. Tell us in the comments, what's your firehouse?
Tell us in the comments, what's your firehouse? Yeah.
Even the fact that I'm talking about firefighters, they trash me for it. And like Keith brought me on stage saying, this next comedian works for the fire department.
Wait, I don't even know if you're allowed to tell this story because I think it's on Keith's forthcoming special.
Right.
The Kevin Hart story? Does he tell it?
We could talk about it.
Does he tell it?
Yeah, we could talk about it a little bit. It's fine.
Okay, here's how I remember it. Keith telling it. You, Kevin Hart, and Keith were driving home from a gig like years ago.
Driving down this dark country road, and Keith was teasing me about how my dad's a civil rights lawyer. He's like, we don't need his help. Tell him we don't need him. He goes, we don't need him. Lean on me. He kept calling him, which is the oldest movie reference, like a 50-year-old movie. And he's like, tell him we're good without him. And then he goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to attack Rachel and let her dad defend me.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to call him up and I'm going to say, Mr. Feinstein, this is the case that's going to make you a star.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
He said he was going to throw me out of the car and then have my dad defend.
Oh, my God.
So we can discuss later whether I can say to that. But anyway, so Keith was making me cry laughing. Then on the way home, he was doing this thing where he was screaming out the window. He was like, shh. Quiet. Like he'll just tell people to shush. It'll be in the middle of like McDougal and Bleecker, like a busy corner of a street. And Keith will be, if you don't mind, just keep it down. It'll just lower the volume. And he gets screamed at. Like this lady was like, why would you tell me to be quiet? I'm outside. Yeah. So he was basically, I think he was screaming out the window something to the extent of like, keep it down for just people that were passing him on the street. Just like, shh, keep it down. Just on some people passing on the sidewalk. So the cops follow us, right? They let me out in my house. And then apparently whatever happened afterwards, they got arrested.
This is years ago.
Many years ago. I mean, Kevin Hart was opening for Keith Robinson. So this was 1910.
100 years ago.
Yes. So I'm 70. So just put that into perspective. So I'm 72 today. But no, so this was many years ago. So they dropped me off and I went inside. Then
this is after a gig, I think.
After a gig, yes. And where I bombed violently. And Keith had the time of his life watching me bomb. He was in the back like, that's right. That's how you bomb.
Oh, my God.
I mean, just they hated me. And Keith thought it was so funny how horrifically I bombed. It was the kind of bomb where you're a little shook up afterwards. Like I needed some help kind of processing it.
Yeah.
And we were driving back, and I remember I was
a regular.
I remember I was reading Catcher in the Rye in the car, and you know, I was young enough to be reading that book, and he looks back and he goes, you know what, you bug me the way you're reading that dumb book and enjoying it. It just irritates me. I'm like, what's wrong with this man? I was like Sandy from Grease. I didn't know how ruthless comedians were. I'm like, why would he say that? But I'm enjoying a piece of literature. Oh my God. And then he takes it out of my hand, hurls the book out the window. Then Kevin says, I really want a sandwich. He's like, I'm hungry. And Keith's like, hey, what kind of sandwich do you want? So Kevin starts discussing what he wants to eat. He's like, you know, it'd be nice. And, you know, and they're thinking it together. He goes, you know what? I'm going to get that for you right now, Kev. And I knew something evil was coming at this point because I'd begun to understand his character. So we stop and Kevin gets a big, long sub. He's dressing it. He's putting all his things on it. He's making it just right. Keith's driving. He's like, you want to eat that, don't you? You're really just excited. You know that feeling when you're about to eat something you really want to eat? And Kevin's just like, yeah. And then Keith takes it out of his hand and hurls the whole dumb thing out the window.
Oh, my God.
And they were both laughing so hard. And I was like, what the fuck? But, you know, now I'm like them. I've become as rotten inside. But, yeah, he just took it out. He took that sandwich right. The birds had a nice fat sub that day.
Wait, so then did you get pulled over from that?
No. Oh, sorry. I just jumping around. No, we didn't get pulled over from that. Sorry. That was earlier in the day.
Okay.
I need to speak in order. I don't know exactly what happened, but they got pulled over after I left. And they got arrested. And Keith said he was, you know, he had some words with the officer. So they get arrested. So I developed a plan to rescue them from so...
to rescue them from
Keith
jail.
was like, we don't need you, you white bitch. And I was like,
oh my God.
So I was like pulling my resources. I was like, free Keith, you know what I mean? And then, so I think I like tried to save some money up to bail him out. I was still a nanny full time. Like I didn't have money. You know, I was like roommates with Sherrod. We lived in like a, you know, an old log tenement. You know, I was like on the top bunk. You had to walk through my room to get to the bathroom. The bathroom had no door. Like we had no money. So I was like scraping together like a funds to, you know, get him free. And then I was like, I got a sandwich, and Buddy Bolton, who was our next door neighbor, if you remember Buddy,
of course,
he decided that we should put a note in the sandwich.
Wait, you should bring a sandwich to the jail and put a note in? And what does the note say?
We're going to get you out of here.
It's like an episode of Three's Company. This is outrageous.
So I was so proud of it. Me and Buddy were like so excited. And then Keith to this day makes so much fun of me putting a note in a sandwich.
You actually did it.
We did it. We put the note in the sandwich and it said, we're going to get you out of here. Like stay strong or something.
Your special is blown up. It's number 5 on Netflix. Of all television.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
You must feel great.
I'm excited. To this morning, at this very moment, I'm like able to be happy about it, you know?
You make fun of Italian stereotypes by using the names Gina and Vince, my dad and my sister. My dad is Vince, my sister is Gina. You're like, Vince, get over here. Gina wants to talk to you. It's like, oh, literally my family members?
I apologize, Michael. Yeah, but a lot of the firefighters in the area I live in Queens, it's like all cops and firefighter families, you know. So like they're all like the kind of guys that are like, my daughters, they're the loves of my life, Isabella, Gianna, and Isabella. I call them the 3 loves of my life. So they all kind of like talk like that. It's a whole nother world from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Like there is like not a Jew for miles. Yeah, it's just a weird, like I'm inside of this whole world now because now he's a battalion chief. So it's like, we have to go when he gets promoted. We get a cake. We bring it to the boss's office. We sit in his office.
Oh my God.
And we tell him thank you.
And you're part of this.
I'm part of this because I am now the chief's wife. So
Right.
there's a lot involved with that. It's not supposed to involve
You're
me saying twat on television, but it does.
What's funny, you talk about how your daughter is like, my dad's a hero and my mom is sarcastic. It's such a great line.
I still think Pete told her to say that. I'm like, how did she come up with sarcastic?
Okay.
He won't
Gotcha.
admit it, but
Because I was like, you're telling it like it's true. And I'm like, is that true? Like, how is it possible?
It's true, but I believe he fed it to her, but he's not admitting it. Yeah, they asked my daughter at her school what her mommy daddy did, and she said my daddy's a hero and my mommy's sarcastic. And Pete's like, yeah, I wonder where she got that. I'm like, I wonder where she got that. Yeah, but I mean, she definitely like takes his job seriously and looks at me like, but what do you really do? Like, yeah.
For a gift for your wedding, your husband got you like Costco pajamas or something?
Yeah, a Costco pajamas.
What did he get? What did he get you for Mother's Day?
A $50 Amazon gift card.
I mean, this is just outrageous.
I mean, it's outrageous. Nothing says you're a blank slate in my mind like an Amazon gift card. Like that's what you give a super.
You're a blank slate.
That there's a moment I talk about this. I haven't talked about it on stage yet, but I'm going to. But there was definitely a moment where he was like 75, and then he was like, nah, not for her. Not for her. 50 feels right.
Is he doing the bit at this point? Like, $50 gift card from Amazon feels like almost a bit.
It's horrific. No,
He's not?
is just.
Does he ever
like,
surprise you with something that's like special?
When Pete gets me a nice gift, I know that there was a team of people that had to work on it with him and like re-steer him in the right direction. His gifts are disastrous. Like they're brutal. They're hurtful.
Do you? This thing made me laugh so hard. Do you remember Taryn Peter Maya? You're doing an impression of your mom.
Yes, my mom.
It's exactly my mom.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the sleight of hand of stand-up comedy is like you watch someone talk about their
mom.
their mom, and you're like, oh, that's my mom. You do this thing of your mom, basically saying you remember this person, and you kind of don't remember the person, and she says a crazy thing about the person.
Yeah, she loves to tell me dark health updates of people I don't remember, just like really weird, upsetting news.
Yeah, any recently?
She told me this is when she just repeats a lot. That of somebody she once knew who went up in a hot air balloon. They knew someone that went in a hot air balloon and then it just crashed and they died. And I'm like, Mom, that's not a fun-loving tale. Why do you keep repeating the hot air balloon story? Yeah. And she gets really into it. And do you remember? And she always says it like she doesn't want to say it. I'm like, yeah, I remember. Because you told me that when I was like 8. And you told me it many times. And it's not a fun tale, Mom. But she loves to tell me just like very dark stuff or just updates. But then she always puts a spin on it at the end. Well, I just thought you might want to know and would be concerned, but I guess I'm the bad guy. So there's always like a last minute turn where she's somehow the victim of her own weird, morose updates she gives me.
My mom has it where, my mom has it where she'll say something that is so extreme from her life that like, I'm just like, how did I not hear this sooner? Like she'll be like, I used to work at a children's hospital, when I was in my 20s, and I became best friends with this girl who was 11, and then she was diagnosed with blank, and then I invited her to my wedding, and then but then she died, and then I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, that's like a huge thing to happen.
Because I think they don't deal with anything because they're of that generation.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think, and then it just comes out in these weird. And I think I have no real hard information, but Jessica Kirsten told me it's like trauma bonding. Like they bond with you through telling you about another trauma. But I've noticed that my mom doesn't really connect so much to the trauma if it's happening to anybody super close to her.
Okay.
But she likes to, and even if you tell her about something that's happening to you, she needs to relate it to like a neighbor's colon cancer or something. Like somebody that this person doesn't even know.
Maybe the trauma bonding thing is part of what we're talking about firefighters do with each other. And maybe it's part of what we do at the Comedy Cellar.
Yes, yeah. I think you're right. And also thinking about it, I guess like when I love when people comedians trash me or say mock my outfits or whatever, it makes me laugh. I'm probably also getting ahead of what I'm going to hear somewhere else. So
Right.
people yell things at me on stage. I read YouTube comments and don't take them in a fun, loving way. No, I get like hurt, like haunted by them.
Yeah, don't do that.
So yeah, I have to not do that anymore. I really can't do it.
It got stopped.
Yeah, I have to stop. No, I've read stuff this week that it's just given me brand new insecurities.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So you can't read it. I've read so many terrible things recently. And yeah, brand new things where somebody
What's the
was
thing
like,
that gets to you? What's the thing that people say that actually crosses the line?
there's a lot about, you know, how I look, and somebody said your arms are fatter than last week. That means someone's tracking my arm fat. It's so horrible.
Fatter than last week.
That means they're checking in with each other. I also feel like friendships are made. Like people bond over hating me because I've seen some people, like somebody write one comment, they'd be like, "Oh, you're telling me this poor guy," you know.
Oh God.
Or I think it definitely. What probably actually really hurts me the most is when people misunderstand my material or just feel like I'm just throwing Pete under the bus and that Pete's not in on the joke and that he doesn't get a kick out of it too, or that I'm like, look, I'm laughing at the whole lifestyle and what I experience, and there's a cocktail of things you experience when you're married to, you know, a firefighter, and a lot of it's hard, and I mock it. I mock all the nonsense around it. So people thinking that I'm somehow disrespecting him or his job, it's like, that's painful because I feel like, look, firefighters are coming out because they need it. They like it that I talk about them. Some of them don't, I'm sure. It's not like, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of people that like or don't like my material. But what I found across the board is that they can take a joke like a joke. And that's one thing I'm really grateful for and probably need that more than anybody. So I'm grateful for that.
I think anybody who works in any life-threatening job has to develop some kind of gallows humor.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a coping mechanism.
I would think so.
Like I have a really dark joke on stage I'm touring with right now, and I literally say to the audience, I go, just so you know, most of the jokes are for me. I say most of the jokes are for you. That one's for me. And the audience kind of gets it. You know what I mean? That's
what I find. Like, I used to rush a lot. I still do. But I feel like sometimes if I'm a little slower and just say that one weird, vulnerable thing that doesn't necessarily have a huge laugh with it, that sometimes those are the jokes and the moments people remember more than anything else.
I think so.
Yeah. So like there's like a bit I have, it's like not even a bit. I just talk about how when I go home to visit my family, I'm okay for like 6 minutes and then I feel like weirdly furious afterwards. It's not a bit yet. It's just kind of a feeling.
That's great.
Yeah. But people will like mention that more because they're like, oh, I feel like that when I go home too. Maybe it makes them feel less bad about going home. I don't know. Or feeling that way when they go home.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
And then I say after that how I feel a terrible guilt about feeling this throbbing hostility. But maybe that makes people feel like, oh, okay, that's all normal or something. So I think it's good to be vulnerable in those ways.
Is there anything from this special that you feel like rubbed some people the wrong way?
There's a joke I say about people. Well, we could be in the middle of an argument and people will stop and be like, you know, thank you for your service or whatever.
Hilarious.
And I'll be like, he's being kind of a dick right now. And I feel like firefighters laugh like crazy at that because everybody knows that's what they have to stop and listen to. You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like I feel like most firefighters laugh at that because they know they hear that every day and their wives or husbands do too. But I
remember seeing
what I'm trying to say is that it's just a moment in time and you don't know what's happening in that time. I'm not saying they shouldn't be thanked for their service or that it's not remarkable, but yeah, there's going to be somebody that would say that that's wrong, but it's a moment in our day where that might happen. And there is a certain isolation and emotional isolation to be with somebody that goes into very traumatic situations a lot. There is a certain loneliness to being married to somebody that does that. So there's a different quality there, you know, so whatever you need from them that you might not get or whatever it is. I'm not saying everybody experiences that, but for myself, I found that Yeah, they have to check out in a certain way that's very necessary for their job at moments, and it doesn't always transition back to the home easily. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe somebody will see that that's where I'm coming from a little bit, or maybe they won't. I don't know.
Oh gosh. If you married an accountant who drove a Toyota Camry, would you still have a new 1 hour special?
No. No way. It absolutely is because I married a firefighter. I owe them everything. Yes. Why do they got yes? Yes.
Yeah.
Not at all. No, he gave me a good, solid hour.
The thing that I screamed laughing, I think, at the most, and I laughed throughout the entirety of your special, is what your mother-in-law says to you. Can you say what she said and then
yes, that's the thing I'm terrified about, because I haven't talked to her today and she doesn't know about that special and I'm so scared.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, because it's so, I mean, she's not gonna listen to this podcast, so I think you're okay. But can you say what she said?
Don't clip it. Yeah, but you could.
Okay, we won't clip it.
Okay. She tells me these things. It's like these compliments that slowly turn into insults. So it always starts out good with her. So she'd be like, my son is happy with you. He's a happy man. You know why? Because he needs to laugh. With his job, laughter is important. He always had the most gorgeous girlfriends, but he was bored by them. Beautiful though. Just smoke shows. But with you, he has a chuckle. He needs that. Yes, she did.
He has a chuckle.
He needs to laugh.
With you, he has a chuckle. I mean, you cannot write comedy better than that. With you, he has a chuckle.
He needs to laugh, sweetheart. It's important. He's happy. He doesn't need a smoking, hot, just gorgeous. I mean, really just like an ass that's just neighborhood approved. He needs to laugh. That's what he needs. He needs a gangrenous clown to set him straight.
And so she's never seen that joke?
No. And she's going to see it. And I'm really nervous. And I haven't heard from her since the special, because she said she was going to watch it. And I tried to tell her on Monday, because it was my daughter's birthday and we had them all over. And I just tried to find the right moment to tell her that I'd do one joke about her. And I didn't. I just bailed.
I'm so glad you did that joke.
Thank you.
It's so funny. I was just dying.
My mother-in-law she's just obsessed with my husband. And I had the opposite. I was the third favorite. I asked my mom and she said it. I was like, you love Justin the most, and then Aaron, and then me. And she was like, ah! Like she couldn't lie. She fucked her neck up trying. She's like, ah!
This is the slow round. What are people's favorite and least favorite thing about you?
In general?
Yeah.
I get in trouble a lot because I'm a mess. I'm like a liability.
Well, you're a half hour late for this conversation.
Yes, I was. But
that's not a big deal. But I'm just giving context to the listeners.
No, but it really was bad. That was later than I've ever wanted to be. I'm usually more on time for comedy, but this morning was especially rough. And it's not okay. I'm sorry. But I'm a mess, and I fuck things up, and I drop things, and I lose things, and I lose other people's things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing you've ever lost?
Oh, my God. Laptops, passports, whole bags I've left at the airport.
Oh, wow.
A Rolex.
A Rolex? My God. That's got to be like a
somebody gave me a Rolex.
$10,000 item, right?
Rolex? And I lost it. Yeah, it's not good.
Someone gave you a Rolex watch and you lost it?
In a move, yeah.
Oof.
It was not good. No, I lose things and I'm like a wild mess, and I try really hard, and I'm trying.
Have you talked about this on stage?
I haven't talked about it a little bit, because my husband is the opposite. Like, if you look at his nightstand, it's like a military fucking ship is run.
Yeah.
And what he wants in life is for my shit not to fuck up his shit. And that is what he wants. Like, so he comes home, he's like, what's this over here? Why is this like this?
Yeah.
So, and that was one of the things, one of the other fire wives, badge bangers, told me. She was like, hey, the reason he does that, the morning drill, she's like, my husband does the same thing, is because they do morning drills at the firehouse. So I guess Pete goes around and he's like, what's this over here? Why is this over here? It looks like you brought it over there. What were you going to do? I always have to tell him why I was going to do something, what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm not thinking. That's the thing. That's the problem. My hands are taking trips throughout the day. I don't know where they went,
What's the worst accommodations you've ever been given on a gig?
Oh, my God. I mean, I've stayed in some, like holes in the sheets, like $37 hotels,
Oh, $37 hotel.
When I was featuring, I would just get whatever I could afford with my nanny money. Like I've stayed in just actively dangerous, like just. But
I've had some actively dangerous ones. I showed up in Indianapolis once. I was forced to stay for whatever reason. I lost my wallet or something. I stayed at a Dollar Inn, and it was at the airport.
Wait, what is it called? A Dollar Inn? I've never even heard of a Dollar Inn.
It's called the Dollar Inn, and I'm not even kidding.
I don't know why I haven't heard of that. It's amazing.
It was the Dollar Inn, and it was like one of those ones. You ever do one where you go and you're sure that they have a shotgun behind the glass? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, okay. Well, this feels very dangerous.
Yeah.
A
Dollar Inn is amazing though. How bad was it? What was it like?
I don't think I slept a lot. I think I slept probably
that was
2.5
one where you slept
hours.
on top of the cover. I've done that a lot. I slept on top of the cover.
Well, the main thing is when you're in a bed, when you're given a really bad hotel room, you take the coverlet off immediately.
Yeah.
What's the worst hotel you've ever had to stay at?
I was thinking the worst hotel that I've ever stayed at was actually not with stand-up. It was when I had started to date this guy that I met at a show, the only guy I've ever met at a show and dated, if you could call it that. He was a nurse. He lived with his grandmother.
Where was this?
This was
in Queens?
In Brooklyn. And I told him we could cuddle, but we couldn't have sex or something. And he was like, okay. And then he met my dumb terms. I used to do a joke about.
This is after this is after like a date? Like,
yeah, we went out like twice, and I was like, we can cuddle, but we can't have sex. Like I used to have all these like, I never had like, I could never do like casual. So I'd be too nervous. So I would set all these weird, like pre-parameters. Oh. I used to do a joke about how if I was your sexual attorney, I'd recommend you don't take this deal. Like, it's not a good deal for you.
That's a great joke.
Yeah, you're going to be flaccid and kind of angry. It's not positive.
It's a great joke. You got to put that on a special.
I should.
I mean, that's a riot. That's a great joke.
My friends would make fun of me for like, why do you have these weird like Mormon sleepovers with all these strange rules and stuff? It was terrible.
Smart. I think it's smart though.
I mean, and the reason I did it was because I was like, oh, I want to make sure that he like loves me before I have sex with him. But what happens is that I was exhausting these guys so much they were like, fine, like where do I sign? Like, yeah, I don't know that I ended up in the right relationships. I think a guy was just vaguely horny and he had like a semi and he was like, yes, I love you. Let's do this.
Oh my God.
I'd prefer to be inside you right now. Fine, we're in a relationship. So I basically
fine. I love you.
I just wore them down with my dumb fucking Mormon sleepovers and fucking weird attorney-like rules. So I think I gave this guy, and most guys would sort of just try or like try to renegotiate throughout the evening.
Yeah, sure.
And in a respectful way, like to be like, hey, can we rediscuss these terms? And I, go over certain things. Like, no, tits are complimentary. Like I just let him know. And so this guy comes over, and my roommate, her grandma had just passed away. And she was so annoyed that I had this guy come over, and she knew about my Christian sleepovers. And she's like, why are you doing this here? Like, I'm mourning my grandma. Just get out of here with this weird nurse that lives with his grandmother that you're dating. She's like, but he's too young. Like, she just thought the whole situation was very strange. He was usually date like older. He was like 6 years younger than me, and he lived with his grandma, and she thought it was all kind of strange. And she's like, can you not have your Mormon sleepover here tonight? I just want to be thinking about my grandma, and I want you to bring this guy over.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we got to get a hotel and to cuddle in. This poor guy.
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. But we couldn't afford many hotels.
And also not the real hotel capital of the world.
Exactly. So we ended up in a prostitute hotel, which had a bulletproof glass. And like, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what a hooker hotel was. We go in and then like we go upstairs. I think we had to pay first, like
sure.
In cash.
In cash, sure.
We go upstairs to cuddle. The only person that's ever cuddled at this hotel.
Oh my gosh.
We turn on the TV, just blasting porn on every station. I was like, oh my God. I didn't know they do this at hotels. Every station was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Oh, and so I was like, fuck, great. This is like, now this guy, can you imagine? Like,
he's cuddling to these
so
sounds. He's cuddling to the porn sounds.
Yeah. And he's just like holding. These were the dumbest nights I've ever had in my life. Just like neither of us could sleep. I was like, what am I doing? What is this? And just like, and we just kept changing the channel and just be just another woman just like, oh yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Fuck yeah. And I'm like, okay, maybe there's no non-porn channels. So we just turned it off and just laid near each other. And it was probably one of the loneliest nights of my life, I could say. Definitely his, I would imagine. But
dear.
It was not good.
Oh,
and then we just left and he just dropped me off. And he was just like, well, and I was like, welp.
Welp.
That was that. Yeah.
That's a tough one. Okay. What is the time you were so scared you ran away?
I'm so scared I ran away. Like, I guess one time, I remember one time on the train. I was on the train and this guy was like kind of trying to touch me, but he was so drunk he didn't know where he was. Like he was in that stage of drunk where he was like, he just like thought we were probably talking, but we weren't. Like he didn't know what country he was in.
Yeah.
And he just kind of leaned over and he was like some drunken sort of swipe at me. And so I get up to get off at that stop. And everybody was watching this. And I go to him, you need to stop it. Like you're being disgusting right now. Then I get up and I get off, but he got off first. So it looked like I was like following him and I wanted it. And so it looked like there was this weird like naughty game we played every night where I'm like, you need to stop it. And he was like, like
my God.
Everybody watched me like, and so it looks like I'm following this guy. Right. So then I started to be like, and he was like he was just drunkenly swaying. So I was like, I kind of crunched the numbers on the idea that he was going to actually try to assault me. And I was like, he probably isn't because he's so drunk.
You were crunching the numbers. And everything is this attorney persona.
Because I was like, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. He was obviously a worthless man. But he was like, he tried to like kind of swipe my tittage area, but he was like, didn't know where he was. So it's like, I don't think he's going to get it together to really go after me.
Right.
But just in case, let me ask this other guy that had got off the train too, if he wouldn't mind walking me to my corner, because some guy was just trying to, I don't know that. Yeah, it's not a full assault. I don't know what you call that. Trying to smear me, like
grope. Or,
yeah, it was like a smearing indication.
A smear. I think the listeners will understand what a smear means.
A physical smear.
A physical smear.
A physical tittage smear.
Oh,
this guy was trying to give my tittage swipe me. Yeah, can swipe. I don't know. So I tell this guy.
I think that's the technical term.
Yeah, can swipe. I was like, I've been can swiped or an attempted can swipe.
Jesus.
So I stopped this other guy that's leaving who had like a little messenger bag and he looked pretty together. And I was like, I don't think he's wants anything to do with me right now. So I was like, hey, do you mind walking me to my corner? Because I was just had an attempt at tittage swiping me by this man, that drunken smear over there. And the man was a smear. The smear was a smear. Anyway, I tell the guy the whole story. And he kind of looks at me and looks at the guy, and he just like thought we were involved in something together that he didn't want to be in the middle of. And he was like, no, thank you, basically.
You actually had a cry for help, and it was rejected.
Yeah, he was like, no, thank you. And he was like he saw that little thing. He thought it was like a play we did back and forth.
Oh, God.
Because then he saw me follow him out, and he's like, I'm not getting in the middle of their sex game right now. And then I just ran.
I've been doing a bit lately. Every now and then at the cellar where I'm like, the governor wants to, the subway is in rough shape, but so it's like the governor wants to bring in the National Guard. And I'm like, I don't think that's the right person, but like, we should call somebody. Like something's going on.
It's not good. I'll tell you that.
Right.
What's the end game here?
I don't know.
What's going on in the trains? I don't know, but it's not good.
It's not good for transport.
No.
Currently.
It's not good for anything.
I don't want to bring my daughter on. And I love the subway.
Yeah.
My grandfather worked in the subway tunnels.
No, I've been taking Ubers lately.
Yeah, it's wild.
No, people are getting punched. I'm like, I don't want to get clocked on my way
to
to Kelly Clarkson.
Phenomenon.
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, yeah, no thanks. I'd rather not have a right hook on the way to do my fun-loving morning show right now.
What nicknames have you been given in your life that were particularly bad or good?
Let's see here. Pete also calls me Chief. He's always like, you're the real Chief, which is so stupid. There's Big Guy Chief. He called me Large Cat for a while.
What does Keith call you?
Keith? What does Keith call me? I can't remember what Keith calls me.
Did Patrice used to make fun of you when he was alive?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What would he say?
I was fucking my way to the middle.
Oh, my God.
Which is funny because I wasn't even dating comics. I was dating like union workers.
You're fucking your way to the middle is too much.
It was good.
Patrice used to make fun of me so much. He called me Mike Big Headlia. That was a big thing he called me. But I have to say, like, as mean as he was, and he was truly, truly mean.
Yeah.
He was funny.
He's brilliantly funny. Yeah.
It's like one of those things you shrug. You go, I don't know.
Yeah, he would just look at me like, ugh. Like, you could just see I was a mess.
Unbelievable thing that do you remember this, that when Patrice was alive, he would sit out on the sidewalk and he would basically do crowd work
on the sidewalk.
I mean, he would just talk to the people who were walking past,
which is like kind of what Keith does too, because they were like best friends. Like Keith's great. They probably did it together. Like Keith would be like, shh, quiet.
Do you have any new bits you're working on?
I was thinking about like this girlfriend of mine that I went to high school with like posted something like normalize spa days. I'm like, I don't think the problem is that I think they're pretty normal. Yeah. You're just telling me you're rich now. Those kinds of posts infuriate me.
Sounds like you're rich.
Yeah, you're just telling us you're rich. That's all that just happened. I'm not sure anybody was judging me for getting a blowout, bitch. Yeah. Like normalize spa days. And it's also whenever people write that like normalize or like this and then they tell you something, it's like it's always it involves some kind of directive. Like all of a sudden I feel like I have to run an errand because you said something. It's like a command. I'm like, I don't even have a bra on. Give me a minute, you know? Normalize spa. Now I have to do this. It's just fucking quick directive and I have to know that you get spa days every week, you twat. I want a spa day. I'd like to normalize them. Can you have some fucking quiche? Here's some cash.
You have some quiche. That's a great bit. Have you done that yet?
Thank you. You actually just helped me work it out more. Like now that I talked it out more, I thought about it more. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done it yet?
No, I have not done it on stage yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Or also, there's another one.
Yeah.
My daughter, pick her up from school now. And so when she listens at school, she gets a listening sticker. And so every day when I pick her up, I'm like, oh, did you get your listening sticker? And this one day I picked her up and she goes, sadly, no.
Sadly, no.
So she's very condescending and she kind of braces me with the information. This is really not a bit yet, but she just speaks like me. So you see all the things you say.
Right.
So I always give people an out because I'm always bracing myself for rejection. So I'll be like, hey, do you want to come over or no? You know, I always say or no. So I'll be like, would you like to come hang out tonight, have a glass of wine or no? So now she says that to everybody. So I just saw her around like her class and she was like, do you want to come to my birthday party or no? Like, I'm like, oof, I'm giving, like, it's like the worst way to be. Like, she's giving people an out. I do this. I give everybody an out. Yeah, people that work with me are always like, don't give people an out. Just ask them, you know, like.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Don't be like, but don't worry about it. You don't have to, you know, like, and that's how I speak.
I would break that wide open because, like, then you can go into an example of, like, when you did that. Can you think of a time where you gave someone an out and it actually backfired?
I mean, like, yesterday, like, I'll be like, I text comedians to ask them to post about my special. I'm like, if you want to post about this, it's fine, but don't worry if not. I hate asking comedians. I hate myself. I'm sorry. Like, it's always like 10 apologies.
Right.
Just be like, do you mind posting this or whatever? But I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah,
I always have to be like, or no, I'm the worst. It's all the worst.
I'm all about outs.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. It's the best thing to teach her because she's always kind of like, even at her birthday, she'll be like, Mommy, do you want to come sit with me for breakfast or no? Like, or she'll be like, do you want to come over, sit at the table or no? Like, she's always just like sort of releasing people like they don't want to be there. Like she presumes you don't want to. And I see that I've passed this on to her, so I have to fix it. But it's also funny because you just see all your own nonsense. Like when my daughter tries to get in bed with me now, she tries to like schmooze me. She gets in bed with us every night, and it's hilarious. We just see her like walking down the hallway, and she cries until she gets to our door because she knows we're going to let her in the bed at this point. Right. So she's like, and then by the time she's in the door, she's like confident. She's fucking like gunning people. She's high-fiving. She's like a rapper walking into a party. You know, she knows she's going to get that bed. And then she'll stop and be like, oh, that's cute. And I'm like, what's cute, Frankie? It's 3 a.m. My black scrunchie you think is like really impressive. Just get in the bed. We know where you're getting. Like, so she kind of works me. She's like, where'd you get that? She says, where did you get that? About like some gross nightshirt I'm wearing, you know? Like it was a store she was going to shop at later. I'm like, I get everything you own. Stop working me. So she definitely works me now. And I want to talk about that more on stage.
This is great.
Like I always thought when I had a girl, I was like, I'm going to try to infuse them with this confidence. It's like Frankie talks to me like she's worried about me. Like, she'll
Yeah.
be like, can you get me a bottle, Mom?
Yeah.
Like, she's always like, not sure I can. She's like, or she'll be like, you can do it. She's like, you can get me that Barbie camper. You can get it. Like, as if I lack the confidence to purchase something for her on Amazon. Anyway.
That's great.
Thank you.
Both of those are great.
Okay, good. I can say
feel
that.
like
I need a whole new hour now, so
you need a new hour. And fortunately, your personality kind of is a walking hour of comedy. Everything about you is hilarious. Like I'm actually similar to when I watched your special. I'm having to suspend myself from laughing too hard because it's gonna override the actual jokes that you're saying.
Also, I took my ADD medicine right before I came here, so I might be talking kind of fast.
There you go. Maybe you could help me with this. I've been doing like a whole run about religion, and I wrote a Judaism thing this week, but I don't really know much about Judaism. So I'm just like, it's hard for me to get on board for Judaism because I don't really think the Old Testament happened. Like, it's so long ago. Like, my mom tells me stories from last week, and I'm like, I'm not sure that happened. You know what I mean? Like, when I think about growing up Catholic, I disregard the Old Testament. Like, even as a kid, I was like, the New Testament is God's way of saying, sorry about all that. None of that's true. It's all about actually forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. It's like when God got clean, he's like, I don't drink anymore. I don't kill people.
God's sober. I think you used the word sober. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's so
God
funny.
got sober. He's like, I was going through some stuff. I said some things about Sodom and Gomorrah that I regret. You know what I mean? Like, and then I go like
that. You should get into more examples. That's so funny. The idea of what he did before he was sober, being the first testament of the Bible, is very funny. Like,
it is wild.
Yeah.
The Old Testament is wild.
Yeah,
and it's like,
crazy.
Because I, even as a kid, because I was full Catholic as a kid, and I remember, every now and then they would read us passages from the Old Testament, and I'd be like, what the hell is going on? You know what I mean? Like, but then like,
no, it was like a rave.
It was like a rave.
That's funny that like the idea of the guy doing things when he was drunk and now that he's sober, like I feel like I don't know much about the first Old Testament.
Were you raised Jewish?
I was raised Jewish, but my mom converted. So we were bat mitzvahed, but they were like, Reformed Jews. So we heard stories and things like general stories, but they were very much about like there's a common thread between us. So I didn't learn like a lot of Even my Torah, like, Torah portion.
Unitarians or something.
We were Jewish, but like even my Torah portion was like written phonetically on top of the Torah. Like I put like cheat notes on top of it.
Oh,
they were
okay.
like, they were very casual about it. So but I think that I don't know a lot about like the crazy things that happen in the Old Testament, but I feel like that's very funny.
Yeah, I was trying to riff on that. I was like on day one, I made light. Could have been day two. A lot of stuff happened. You know what I mean? It blurs together. I thought that would be the relatable, not the relatable, but the recognizable part of the Old Testament was like just Genesis.
Yes.
Because then it's like, we all kind of know like the 7 days and then I rested and all that shit.
Yeah, but I do think you should mix in more things because that's like really fun. That's a really funny aspect of the joke. I've never heard anybody speak about that way.
Yeah, and then the other thing I wrote down is like, I'm working on this bit about I went to strip clubs in my 20s and I don't really go anymore. Not because my wife wouldn't let me, but when I would come home from the strip club, she wouldn't really want to hear the stories.
That's amazing.
And life is really about the stories.
Wait, really go is amazing too, because that leaves some wiggle room there for you. I don't really go to strip clubs.
Oh, right. I don't really. Yeah. No, I don't know. I've gone like twice in the last 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, in my 20s, it just like, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like people in their 20s who go to strip clubs, I'm like, I get it. People in their 70s, I get it. 30 through 60, I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah,
what's going on in your life?
Flag. I get it.
20s, you're lost. 70s, you're almost
70s
dead.
is insane but delightful. You're like, I love this guy. I want to know the guy that's sitting in a strip club when he's 70. But yeah, 40s, 50s, there's a darkness because you kind of know it. You get it. Like 70s, you've lost it again. So you don't know what's going on anymore. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have any information anymore. You lost it all.
That's right.
30s, 40s, you kind of have an idea of the fact that they don't want to be there and they don't believe in you as a man. But when you're 70, you don't know if you just shit yourself. So why the fuck not? Should you, get motorboated or whatever? Anyway, as a mother, I just want to say
The final thing that we do is called Working It Out for a Cause. What is a nonprofit that you like to support? And we will contribute and link to them in the show notes.
Friends of Firefighters. I do a lot of stuff with them. They offer free services to entire FDNY families, free therapy, free acupuncture. They're right here in Brooklyn. They're on Van Brunt Street. And a lot of firefighters don't know that they have all of this. And some firefighters don't always want to get therapy on the job. They can. It's available, but they don't want it.
Normalize acupuncture for firefighters.
Yeah, that's right. That's a fucking command.
That's how I feel about it. Normalize therapy for firefighters. It's such a cry for help for you. You're like, it's like for therapy for firefighters. You know, like maybe my husband might want to go to therapy, and maybe.
Please. No, but they offer all kinds of amazing free services, and they're in a firehouse, so it's super cool because firefighters work with Friends of Firefighters to kind of make it normal and comfortable, and so it's amazing.
We're gonna link to them in the show notes. We're gonna contribute to them. Rachel Feinstein, I mean, legend.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry. Yeah. Also, the Billy Moon Foundation. Billy was a firefighter that died on the job, and his wife Christina Moon has 2 young daughters. I just did an event for Billy on Sunday. So the Billy Moon Foundation is basically Billy donated all his organs after he passed away, and it actually one of them, I believe, saved another person on duty's life. So it's a really cool, and they kind of help people to do that, to donate organs and do things that Billy was able to do posthumously. I always pronounce that word wrong. Anyway, Billy Moon Foundation. Christina Moon is lovely. Hi, Christina.
I'm sorry, it's posthumously.
Posthumously. I knew I said it wrong. I told you I run dumb. That's the thing. I don't know like words and stuff.
Rachel,
cut me off.
Rachel, you're done. We're cutting off your microphone. We're taking away your meds. We're taking away your ADD medication.
My husband's a hero.
But my husband's a hero.
But I'm the chief's wife. I get anything I fucking want.
Rachel, woo!